Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Kizito Mpanga and I'm here to talk about a module, Computers and Intelligence Tools. This will be the first unit, Unit 1 of Computers and Intelligence Tools. Now, as computers started evolving, humanity found a way of using computers in different ways. One of the ways in which computers were making headlines on the market was the ability to mimic or to think, in quotation marks, like a human being. Now, a human being has got a brain, meaning everything that goes into the brain, can be recorded at a specific time and can be relayed to various situations and to various people. As such, the engineers started putting up certain systems that could be associated with the computer with regard to that thinking ability that a human being has. Now, this led to one component in the history of developing the way computers think, the way computers learn, to what is known as expert systems. So in the first place, an expert system had to be developed. Why develop an expert system to help computers mimic human reason? Because remember, with a human being, we learn what we see, we learn what we hear, we learn what goes on in life, either by observing or by being involved or taking part in whatever is going on. But with a computer doesn't have a brain. So the experts thought if we come up with a way of putting together certain facts, the computer will be able to use those facts to reason, okay? We are using reason with quotation marks because it doesn't think. So the computer will be able to reason and give the user conclusions based on the facts that have been fed to the computer system. So expert systems started being developed. Now, an expert system basically is a collection of certain facts, certain ideas into what is known as a knowledge base. A knowledge base will have all the facts, all the information that a computer would need in order to come up with some kind of a conclusion. Now, it's not just a knowledge base, with all the facts, all the ideas about this topic. There was also need to have some kind of a search engine, because a computer would go and search into the knowledge base, find the facts or the ideas that are commonly associated with whatever the search is about, then it will draw conclusions based on that. So, two key things were being considered in an expert system. The first one was the knowledge base, a collection of all the facts, all the ideas about this topic. The second one was a search engine, which in some quarters is also known as an inference engine. Now, you have these two key things, the knowledge base and an inference or a search engine that would help. But then you also needed a human being to somehow be able to communicate with the computer system. So there had to be some kind of an explanation facility, where whatever has been searched from the knowledge base will be given some kind of an explanation. Then there was a user interface, a communication system where the user will be able to ask the computer, and the computer will be able to communicate with the user either on the topic that has been raised by the user or an error in case the expert system fails to come up with some kind of a conclusion. So you find that An expert system actually had about 5 components. Of course, the two critical ones were the knowledge base, which contained all the information about a specific topic. 2, you had the inference or the search engine. But in addition to that, you also had other components like knowledge acquisition system. How are you going to feed these ideas, these topics, these details into the knowledge base? You needed a knowledge acquisition system. Then in addition, you also needed an explanation facility. Sometimes the computer will come up with this logical conclusion, but then you are like, hang on. More or less the way it happens when human beings are interacting. One person might say, I am looking at this. And then the other person will say, oh, hang on. So what do you mean by that? They are looking for an explanation, for extra details, so that they may understand what the other person is talking about. So that is now a concept that fell under knowledge acquisition and the explanation facility. So knowledge has been acquired. What explanation would be given to whatever you want to look at. The other one, of course, was the interface, the user interface or the communication system, so that the computer is able to interact, to communicate with the user. Once an expert system was formed and it started operating well, one of the other things that came into being is, are we going to just sit there as human beings, interact with the computer, and always make sure that the computer does things as long as we are there to tell the computers? Somebody came up with an idea. No. How about we use what is known as robots? We use, a robot which will be able not just to acquire knowledge, not just to have a knowledge base, but to be able to interpret, give explanations, and make some kind of logical conclusion. This was the introduction of what is now known as artificial intelligence. Now, in a nutshell, artificial intelligence is all about, the ability of a digital computer to learn what has been fed to that computer and make some logical conclusions based on the facts or the ideas fed to that computer, and then be able to advise. If you want, artificial intelligence is an ability of a computer to mimic or to resemble the human thinking capacity, because with the humans, they have the brain, and the brain is the one that will think, make logical conclusions, and after that, it will now give you the results. So with artificial intelligence coming onto the market, we have now a system of using a computerized system that will now look at or work hand in hand with robots, so that even if a human being is not there, as long as the knowledge base is there, the inference or the search engine is there, the robot will be able to use the knowledge from the knowledge base, make logical conclusions, and even carry out certain tasks. Now, of course, we've got so many fields where these robots are being applied in today's world. Almost every sphere of human endeavor will have robots doing specific things as the technology evolves. So we are going to look at different fields where robots have been used, and these robots are using artificial intelligence as a platform to do the tasks that, traditionally speaking, have been done by human beings. So, where do we start from? Which field do we start from? Well, we shall start from the education sector, because that probably is why we are here. You are learning. I am explaining certain things, and you are learning, sort of like an education system. So, how is artificial intelligence, how are robots being used in the education sector? Well, the education sector relies mainly on two things. First of all, it's the teacher and the learner. The teacher and the learner interact, whereby the teacher explains specific topics based on the curriculum that has been given to the teacher. And after the teacher has explained, the student will understand and will give feedback by asking questions. Now, once that interaction has been accomplished, the teacher has explained, the student or the learner has understood, or in the case where they haven't understood, have asked the questions, the relevant questions, the learning process has taken place. Now, before we could delve into what exactly are we talking about in terms of robots taking over or doing some of the key things, some of the key concepts in the education sector, we will look at, are there any benefits? Are there any benefits or advantages to having robots taking over the role of teachers in the learning process?